my name is Megan.
And today's lesson is basic trail maintenance. Whenever doing any type of trail maintenance, it's always a great idea to do something called the tailgate talk. Most U.S. Forest Service trail teams do this before every time they go out. It consists of a 5-minute talk, which will discuss anything along the lines of PPE or personal protective equipment, tools that will be used, and maybe some watch out situations or hazards that you might see on the trail. So without further ado, Megan.
Alright, so some of the proper PPE that we will be using on the trail today includes a safety helmet, safety glasses, a water bottle, leather gloves, 8-inch leather boots, first aid kit, cell phone, which is a communication device in case you find trouble on the trail, and what am I missing here? Oh yeah, of course, bear spray, very, very important on the trail.
So some of the tools that you might be using on a trail will consist of 3 pretty common tools that you'll see. The first one is called a Pulaski, and it has a chopping end, which is an axe bit, and a digging end, which is like a wide pick blade or a hoe, something like that. And it all depends on what type of Pulaski you have, but this is a pretty common type that you see right here. More common than that, you're going to see something called a nippers or a lopping shears. It all depends on the area that you're in and the terminology that they use. But a pair of nippers is really great because this here is a very, very, very useful tool. We use it all the time. You got a limb up here that you need to reach, oh, just cut that down with the nippers, or you have a lot of low-hanging stuff. Again, this here is probably, you're going to use this more than the Pulaski or any other tool that you see on the trail. And my personal favorite, the silky saw. Also known as a camp saw or a folding saw, this here is a really versatile tool, as in the larger ones that have a blade of 18 inches or more can be used to cut down larger trees of 6 inches in diameter, maybe closer to 10 even. These smaller ones are great for getting a lot of small brush or something along the lines of on the sides of the trail that you get a lot in a bunch and then you just cut it all off at the same time. It's really great because it folds down like so, and it can fit in any pocket or a backpack even. So almost everyone on your trail team might be even carrying one of these just because they are so compact, but they are used for so much. So we've gone through PPE and tools. The last thing that you'll see on a tailgate talk will be something called watch out situations or hazards of trail. And those are going to be something where we're going to be talking about, like, if it's a really rocky area and it's wet out like today, slippery rocks. If it's cold outside, we might be talking about hypothermia. If it's warm out, we might be talking about heat stroke. If it's summertime, we might even be talking about bees, because that can be a watch out situation too. So it all depends on what time of season and what time, where you're at. It's all about location and time of year. That's really, and weather. Weather's a big one. As you can see right now, it's raining out, there's snow on the ground, so our watch out situations today are going to be hypothermia and just slipperiness. That snow can get really slick, and so we want to make sure that we're wearing good boots and watching out for keeping distance between workers, as well as for hypothermia, we want to make sure we're wearing layers, drinking lots of fluids, and if we start to get cold or anything like that, we need to stop, because our safety is more important than getting a trail done in a day. When we're on a trail, there's 3 things you always want to keep in mind when it comes to trail etiquette. And 2 of those things apply to everyone, and 1 applies to trail workers themselves. The first one is leave no trace. Come on, people. Let's be reasonable. We don't want to leave trash out there when we're trying to work on a trail, right? As well as we don't want to find trash when we're working on a trail. So, if you're a hiker, leave no trace. It's simple enough. Second thing is we don't want to walk on the edge of the trail. This can cause erosion and make a trail degrade faster than what it was designed to do. Meaning more maintenance and overall just more time with, money being spent that doesn't need to be spent. And the last thing is for trail workers. Whenever you have a recreationalist come by, a hiker, backpacker, whatever the case may be, it's always best to stop what you're doing, put the sheath back on your tool and wait for them to pass until they're a safe distance away so that you can go back to work. This is a great time to take a break. Take breaks often, especially in harsh weather, and you'll be able to work longer because of it. So, with that, we're going to take a break. Oh, Megan, what are you doing?
What? I'm just doing some maintenance.
What you're doing is not safe.
Why
You
not?
gotta keep that sheath on that axe.
Oh, I suppose you're right.
You know, those things are really sharp, and if you were to slip in the snow, that thing could cut you
Right.
or someone else.
All right, thanks for letting me know, Bree.
No problem. This isn't. God, this can't be here. This has got to come down.
Bree, what the hell are you doing?
I'm cutting down the tree.
Not with me this close. What do you think you're doing? You gotta let me know, woman.
I'm sorry.
All right. Next time, you just gotta let me know. Communicate when you're swinging that thing around, and we'll be good. All right?
All right.
Thank ya. We're gonna talk about how each tool is used. This here is the nippers, and you simply bend at the knees. Do not bend overboard. It's very bad for your back. Then slice, just like this. Move stuff out of the way. Uh-oh, that is hazardous. That's what we call a punji stick. A hiker can come along here and trip, and sure enough, we have a bad situation. So, you want to make sure you cut as low to the ground as possible. And again, make sure where the other workers are on the trail. You don't want this stuff falling on them or poking them in the eye.
So first, I'm going to show you the digging side, and it's really important to keep the knees bent, hold it good shoulder width apart, and we don't want to take huge swings. We only have to go about halfway. So really, I'm just going to be kind of chopping at this dirt, trying to move it so that we can get this root out of here so I can chop at that. So we're just going to bend the knees and kind of take them, and we're going to dig away and work. Oh, I found the root. Alrighty, once we get to that, then we can take the axe side and we can cut away at that root. So now, I might have to move a little bit to get to the right position. So now we just take it and we're gonna cut away at that root. And now, I don't have a root in my way anymore. And once we're done, we always want to make sure that we wipe this off because it's really dirty. And once we get back to the shop, we're going to want to use some oil and oil this thing up again. And when I'm just traveling with it, we're going to put that sheath back on it. So, that's how to use a Pulaski. Alrighty, silky saw. Pretty, sawing motion, but there's a couple things we want to keep in mind. First thing is, when we come up on a piece of brush that we're going to remove with the silky, we always want to come with it without the saw open. Once we get there, it's best to get as low as possible. As Megan said earlier, we want to watch out for punji sticks. This even applies when we're talking about silky saws as well. We don't want to cut up here, we want to cut as low as possible. So I'm on my knees. Next thing is, if there were branches bent over this, we want to watch out for whiplash, because that there is really dangerous. It's one of the reasons why we wear safety glasses. Even hard hats. This stuff can be really, really dangerous and can sometimes even knock a person out unconscious. But I'm going to keep a firm hand on the piece of brush that I'm cutting, and the other one I'm going to use the silky saw. I'm going to cut as low as possible, and I'm going to try to cut as straight as possible. I don't want to keep an angle on it because, again, punji sticks are something that we want to watch out for. So I'm going to cut this, and keep in mind of dirt. We don't want that to get into the saw blade. And there you have it. You want to make sure, because these things are very flexible, we want to make sure that we try to keep it as flat as possible, and not to, if it gets bound up, we don't want to lift or pull, because this here can break, and it can break off tools teeth like you see here. So again, like the Pulaski, we want to remove as much of the dirt, snow, whatever is on it as possible. And when we get back to the shop, we want to treat it well, put maybe some oil on it, sharpen the teeth if we need to. And when we're done, we want to just make sure that this gets put off trail.
Okay, so the Forest Service has a rule that includes a measurement of 4 feet by 8 feet, which means when you're doing trail maintenance, you should walk along the trail and clear anything within the 4 feet wide or 8 feet tall. Like maybe this stuff would have to go up here, and you'd have to take Alright, so as you can see, Bree had to cut down a little bit of a branch here, and it left a nice, clean mark here. But we want to make it look a little more natural. So all you have to do is rub a little dirt on there, and sure enough, it doesn't look like it was cut down today.
Well, the rain's coming down a little bit harder now, and it's a good thing because that's all we have for you today.
Alright, thank you for watching.